is learned in Algebra 1. In Algebra 1, we call it inequality notation, but its technical name is set notation. Like, basically, the only thing we change is we put braces, like little squiggly brackets around it, and then we're like, ta-da, it's set notation, and then it makes you feel like it's something special, but it's really not. Okay, set notation, again, is almost identical to the inequality notation that you use for domain and range in Algebra 1. And I remember the two types. So I think of set notation, I think of the little S right here, and I think of squiggly brackets. How do you spell squiggly? S-Q-U-I-G. Is there two G's? Squiggly brackets. Because they use these little squiggly bracket thingies. Their technical name is a brace. Not as exciting, but they are called a brace. Okay. You do write domain and range differently for discrete and continuous functions. Discrete and continuous functions, those words are used in Algebra 1, but you might have forgotten the difference between the two. I'm just going to kind of show you discrete functions. Hey, hon. Continuous functions. Do we remember the difference, or can you kind of see the difference when you look at those two graphs? Can you kind of see the difference? What's the difference between those two? This is discrete. This is continuous. What makes them different? I heard it. I heard it. This one is, yeah, just a bunch of points. These are these just a bunch of points? No, these are not just points. So discrete functions are basically unconnected points that you draw by literally putting a point, lifting up your pen, putting a point. Unconnected points. Should we connect them though? No, you should not connect them. It's not connect the dots. Don't connect them. Okay, and whereas a continuous function, a lot of people get confused. They think continuous function means it has to have arrows, but all three of these are continuous. Do they all have arrows? Continuous just means that it's either a solid line or like a curve, a solid curve. Solid line or curve. Okay. My favorite is doing the domain and range for discrete. It's the easiest thing to do, but it's also, you're going to forget it because it's so easy and you're going to want to overcomplicate it, but it's really not that hard. So for my domains, what I'm going to do is, do we remember which one it is? Domain is which ones and range is which ones? Domain is X, range is Y. Good. Oh, yay. Okay. So remember the basics of it. All right. So to do official set notation, I'm going to open up one of those squiggly brackets. I'm going to put an X and then a bar right here. And basically it's just saying these are my X's. Like, it's a fancy way of just saying these are my X's. And then I'm going to make a list of the X's. And oftentimes we will do it in numerical order. So we'll put the smallest and then the largest. If I have any that repeat, you don't have to write them twice. So like, I don't want to write 2 and 2 twice. I just want to put 2 once. So we'll say 2 and then we'll put a comma. And then we'll do the next one, which would be 3. Great job. And the next one, which would be 5. And that is all of my X's. So then I'm going to close it out. So it's basically just saying, these are my X's. These are the set of numbers that are in my X's. Okay. If you want to make yourself a little note, like you don't have to write down the repeats, make yourself a little note. Don't have to write repeats. For the range, we're going to do the same, except what are we going to use instead? Y's, yeah. Okay, so we'll open up our little squiggly bracket. We'll say these are my Y's, and then we're going to write them from least to greatest. So we're going to start with what number? Did someone say 0? -8, and then -7, and then 0, 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Basically, it just says these are all the Y's that it's in my range. Wasn't that easy? It's so easy that you're going to forget that it's that easy, and you're going to try and do it a harder way after we learn continuous. All right, let's do the same for the second one. The only thing different about the second one is you don't have the X's and Y's of those points written down. So if we think about what is this ordered pair right here? That's the point 1, 3. Good. I'm just going to kind of label them first. This one's 3, -1. And then we got 2, 1. 4, 2. Oh, what's this point? 5, 0. Thank you for not saying 0, 5. And then our very last one up top is 6, 6. All right, so we're going to write down our domain and range for these. Again, we're going to open a squiggly bracket. For the domain, we're going to put an X and then a bar, which is just basically saying these are my X's, this set of numbers. And then we're going to write down those X's from least to greatest. What's my leastest? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay, that was a nice one. We didn't have to think about that one. And for my range, we're going to say these are my Y's. What's my smallest Y? -1. Good. And then I got a 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't have a 4 or a 5, but I do have a 6. Y'all struggling with the squiggly brackets? Yeah, they're not easy to do. I messed up on this one. I'm really good at doing the one on the left, but the one on the right always looks a little wonky. All right, that was discrete. Wasn't that nice and easy? All right, now we're going to throw in continuous. That's when we have a solid line or curve. And we're going to see if we can remember how to do that. Again, this is going to use those inequality symbols just like you learned how to do it in Algebra 1. The only thing different that we do in Algebra 2 for official set notation is we put it in squiggly brackets and we say X is this set of numbers with the bar. So I'm going to start that from my domain. X is this set of numbers. And then we're going to do the inequality just like we learned how to do in Algebra 1. So if you remember in Algebra 1, what you did is you looked on the left-hand side of this continuous function first. And you said, what is my smallest x that would be in my domain if that has an arrow going left? -infinity. Good. And on the right-hand side, what is my largest x? +infinity. Good. So I put the smallest one on the left, -infinity, the largest one on the right. In between, you put a little x, and then if you remember the inequality symbols, they actually always face the same direction. The only thing that changes is sometimes you put a line underneath, sometimes you don't. If it's going to infinity, do we remember if we put the line underneath to include it? You do not, exactly. So we would just say less than, less than. So basically that's saying like x is greater than -infinity, that's this side, but smaller than +infinity. Anyone know another way we could say this? It's all real numbers, right? You could actually use a little symbol. So you could say x is in the set of, and then you can use that symbol for all real numbers, which is basically, it's an R with a line. It actually is an I, which means in the set of real numbers. That's just alternate way. These two mean the same thing. Is my range any different? My bottom to top, my lowest to highest? No. Yeah, the range should be the same. The only thing we're going to change is we're going to do what instead? Y is in the set of numbers. Good. And then my lowest Y obviously is down here going to -infinity. My highest Y is up top going to +infinity. So we can kind of write the same thing. Again, you can even use that shortcut that just says Y is in the set of real numbers, or you can say that it goes from negative to +infinity. It's up to you. I'm going to do the shorter one. Is it kind of ringing a bell? Is it all coming back to us? Domain and range. Okay. The second one, are we going to have any infinities? No, why not? There's no arrows, right? No infinity, no arrows. So I'm going to start with my domain, which is my x's. X is in the set of numbers. And we're looking left to right because those are my x values. So the leftmost place and the rightmost place. So my leftmost point is right here. My rightmost point is right here. So I want to write down the smallest one and then the largest one, and then we'll have to adjust our inequality symbols. What is that smallest x? -3. And then my largest is 2. I'll put my x in between, and then again, the inequality symbols always face the same direction. The only thing you adjust is whether or not it's going to include that value and you need the line underneath. On the side with the -3, is it going to include that -3? Yeah, because there's an actual point there, so We do want the line underneath for that one because it's including this point. But on the side with the 2, do we want the line underneath? No, because there's an open dot there, so it does not include that one, so you just want to say less than. So you would say x is greater than or equal to -3, but less than 2. Ringing a bell? Did y'all do domain and range in geometry at all? So this is y'all remembering it a whole year after the fact? I'm so impressed. Okay, range, again, range is lowest to highest. That's your y values, just like the y-axis goes bottom to top. Same thing for when we write the range. So we're going to say our y's, okay, and then we're going for our lowest y. Lowest y is down here. Wow, all my pens are dead and drying up. Gross. Highest y, is this my highest y? No, highest is going to include, even if you don't see an actual point there, that is the highest part of my graph. So that's the number I want to write down. What is my lowest y on that graph? -5. And what's the highest? 4. So we want to write down the smallest one first, -5. And then 4 on the right. What variable are we going to put in between? Y. And then we're going to adjust our inequality signs to figure out, do we want the line underneath? Does it actually include that? On the side with the -5, do we want to actually include this one and put the line underneath? Yeah, because there's an actual point there. On the side with the 4, do we want to put the line underneath? Yes, we do. Even though there's not an open dot, there is still a point there. You're welcome to draw it in. There is still a point there. You don't see it. But as long as it's not an open dot, then it's an actual dot. So you do want a line underneath on that one as well. Morning, Tyrant. We doing okay? Okay. Let's see if we can do the third one with our groups. Third one with our groups, both domain and range, talking about it, discussing how we should write it, what we're thinking. If you want to do it separately and compare, if you want to, everyone writes it at the same time. Wow, I love your writing in red. Try it together. Again, domain is left to right, range bottom to top, lowest to highest. Let's try to. Is this a binder? That's nice. Quality. Oh yeah, I agree. She's good. She's like a mom too, so she's very momish. All right, we're gonna check our answers. All right, what's my smallest x? Negative infinity. What's my largest? Infinity. Do I need the line underneath on my inequality symbols? No. You could have just said x is a real number also, if you wanted to do that. For my range, what's my smallest, my lowest y? -5. And my highest, infinity. We'll put a y in between. Do both of these need the line underneath on their inequalities? Only -5. Good job. Flip it over now for some really weird ones. Actually, only 2 of these are weird. Challenge. Okay. Let's look at what we got. Okay, I see an open dot on the left-hand side. All right, let's kind of think it through. For my domain, I'm just going to open up my little parentheses. I'm just going to jump right into it. X is in the set of numbers. So starting on the left side of my graph for domain, my smallest x, I obviously see that over here. My largest I see over here, and it's an arrow. There's an extra paper right there, babe. There you go. Want to grab one? Perfect. Thanks, guys. Okay. So what number am I going to write down for my smallest x? -4. And for my largest? Infinity. Very good. We'll throw an x in between. Do both of those need the inequality symbol? No. Which one does not? The -4, right. This one does not. This one. Oh, they both don't. They're both. Yeah, okay. All right, my range, my bottom to top. This one kind of, some people really think about it. I can see the bottom. What is the top, though? Yeah, it is infinity. Okay. Now, thinking about, I know that whatever point was here, this y is not included. So, like, this y of negative or of +3 is not included. But is there any other point on the graph where it does have a y of +3? Yeah, over this one right here. So should we include +3? Yeah, so it's like the fact that we have a point here kind of cancels out the fact that there's not a y value at this one. So this one, even though it looks like the range would be weird, it actually is just quite straightforward. Our lowest y is +1. My highest y is infinity. We'll put a y in between. Okay, on the side with the +1, should I include that? Should I put the line underneath on my inequality? Yes. What about on the side with the infinity? No. All right, second one I think is actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to have you do your second one with your group. Second one with your group. Compare answers, think about it together, discuss. If you're really feeling gutsy, you can think about the third one. Third one uses something that we haven't learned, but if you figure out the third one, I probably do. Alright. Looks like everyone's done with this second one. So you're not ready? But you came in late, so that's obvious you're not ready. You were working on the ones on the front, babe. Alright, second one. Just ignore me. Okay. X is in the set of numbers that go from -2 to 4. Do I need the inequality symbol with a line underneath for both? Yes, for both. Okay. And then my range, that would be -3 to 4. Y value, line underneath for both? Yep, for both. This one was very straightforward. I love it. Yay, just a regular old graph. Did y'all get it? Good. Okay. All right. I'm going to have you think about, this one's kind of a challenge. I'm going to have you think about how you would do this one with your group. Okay. Discuss the issue with it. There's an issue with it. Think about, okay, well, if there is that issue, how would we write the domain or range, whichever one it affects? We're suffering through it a little bit.
I just put a comma like always in the like seriously stop. It's really annoying. Yeah. Like on the first page we enter the discrete functions and we have like commas separate things. That way this is constant switching. I'm about to write the line. Like we're gonna get a negative 3 times
It's okay, it's going to be negative 3. If x, which is less than negative 3, then we add another phrase in which will be negative 3 is less than x, which is less than 2. Yeah.
negative is not included. And she said mine right.
Oh, my bad.
Basically, you're doing wrong. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's when you were wrong. There's an issue. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I thought you were going to Gets there.
I accidentally wrote an 8.
There's 2 different ways you can write it, guys. So if you think yours is right and someone else thinks theirs is right, we all have totally different. It should be right.
Oh, my eyeballs. Oh, look at that pink sweatshirt. Why is it not a purple sweatshirt? Okay, I'm going to go over the... which one y'all want to do first? Just the domain? Okay, I'm going to show you the 2 different ways to write it. Perfectly good, acceptable answers and ways of writing it. The first way to write it is to literally just pretend like this whole thing exists. Like basically ignore that and just be like, let me write the domain of this part right here. So the domain of this part, what would be the leftmost number? Negative infinity. What would be the rightmost number? 2. So I'm going to write that down. Yes, that is a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I was looking at the other one.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll write negative infinity to 2. We'll put an X. We'll put, ignoring that again, open, no lines, no lines. Okay, no lines. Okay, now we have to say, but it's not this. We skipped over this point. So I saw this table did it. What did you write? Yep, so you put a little comma and you say, except X is not negative 3. So you exclude the number that it jumped over. So
I had another strategy.
yes, there's a second one. We'll do the second one as well. So this is the first one, basically just saying it's all of this, but not this one. The second strategy is basically doing 2 separate inequalities. You would start by doing this inequality, which says that it's from negative infinity to negative 3, and then from negative 3 to here. So 2 separate inequalities. Or, so we'll say negative infinity to negative 3. We'll put an x. Okay, you'll put a little comma, and then you'll do the second one, negative 3 to 2. And then it just kind of counts both of them separately and skips over that negative 3. Both are perfectly acceptable. One, I feel like, is just less numbers to write, so there's nothing wrong with writing that one. I like that one better. Okay. Was there any issue with the range? What's my lowest number on my range? Negative 2. And my highest? Infinity. Yeah, technically your highest is infinity. Even though there's an open dot on this one, there is an infinity going upwards. Negative 2 to infinity. On the side with the negative 2, should we include it? Yes. Because even though this one's not included, my stupid voice always goes out in the morning. All of these others right here are included. So basically it kind of cancels out the one that's not included. So we do want to include it. On the side with the infinity, should we include it? No, never. Okay. All right. How are we feeling?